Hello,
3, 2.
everybody. Hello. Oh, wait, I have to switch to the Keebcast scene. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? I had to really, if you guys don't already know, I had to completely redo the scene because there's more than 4 people. But I think I did okay. What do you guys think? How's everyone doing tonight? Hello to Robert and Max from Clackeys. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hello.
Hey, we're doing great. Thank
And
you
then
for
hello,
having us.
no worries. Hello to Reagan and Chase as well. We didn't have Reagan yesterday on our impromptu episode with Diego, but he is here now, and his hotel room looks great.
He's back. Thank you.
Reagan is my girlfriend? I thought he was mine. This is confusing. No, we have to talk later. Just put my FR4 plate with 68 gram progressives on my board. Hell yeah, dude. So, Robert, Max, you guys do Artisans. And I kind of want to ask how you guys got into this.
Ooh, that's a good story. Well, you guys can watch like the long version. I did a story on this actually 3 years ago on Tested. So if you guys just Google Clackeys Tested on YouTube, there's a good video where they did an interview on us, or at the time it was just me by myself in my basement. Yeah, so that's the full story. But basically, the short story is I was looking for a keyboard for my wife because she was setting up her new office and stumbled across the our mechanical keyboards, and I was like, I need a new keyboard too now. And so I ended up getting a couple new boards, and then I was scrolling, and then I started seeing people doing clay sculptures.
Yeah.
Which were are artisans.
Oh, thank you, dude.
And at the time I wasn't working. I just quit my last job. I was working at DreamWorks Animation. So I'm a 3D.
Wow.
I used to be a 3D artist in production on film and games. And so I've been 3D printing and doing manufacturing of that kind of sort stuff for a long time. And I had printers also with me, personal ones, right? So I was like, hey, that's a cool thing. Maybe I'm going to try that out. Do my own art and put it on a keyboard. And so I ended up making the Booby Cap, which was the first keycap that I ever did.
Cool.
And it was really popular. And so I can go in like details forever, but basically that just launched the whole idea of a new job and a new project at the time for me to get into, because I was just I would just tell my friends that I'm retired, but really we moved to kind of a small town here in Davis, California, where there's no visual effects or video game industry for me to get into. So I just kind of found my way into doing something on my own.
Which is always a fun thing to kind of, I think a lot of people dream of, owning something or doing something like that too. So that's definitely cool that you can stumble upon something like that and then really work towards it and, make, because I own a few of your guys' Artisans as well. And it's honestly really cool. Like I remember the Darth Vader one I got for my dad because he's a huge Darth Vader fan. And
Nice.
I was actually, when I got up before our interview, I was like, I'm gonna go get it, and then it's on his keyboard right now and he's playing games, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna bother him. So I was like, okay, forget it. Never mind. But no, that's really cool. So you guys have been in business for a while then.
Yeah, we started I started the company in 2016. It was literally overnight. I think once I sold the keycaps, once I decided I'm going to sell those keycaps, I literally thought of the name Clackeys. I went and trademarked it. I went and bought the website. Like it was within a week. It was idea to sale to owning an entire incorporation of like this whole idea, right? And then that was like the end of 2016. And then basically it was a garage studio for the past like 3 years. And then Max, what was the month that you kind of
like
came
September, October?
Yeah.
October.
Yeah. So then at that point, Max joined our team in this last year in September, October. How did you find us, Max?
So I'm in Los Angeles right now. I kind of stumbled out of college to the licensing of film and entertainment properties at Fox. I was doing like mobile game stuff. It was back before Disney made their big acquisition. And Fox, I ended up at Sony doing mobile game license as well. But I always kind of wanted to get into more of like a physical product.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
Like, I don't know, I would be doing like an iPhone game at my desk, sitting next to the guy reviewing, I don't know, all the Ghostbusters stuff or whatever. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. Like, I want to do that. And so the pandemic hits. Everybody starts working from home, and they're like, oh, let's find new ways of opportunity, like of revenue opportunities, of ways we can license things out. My roommate had just introduced me to the world of mechanical keyboards. I think I was using Silent, Cherry, MX Reds for 4 years, being like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, oh wait, we can put these TV shows and movies onto a key. So I set up a deal with Sony and another company, and then like a month later, they took our 20-person division down to 6 people, and I unfortunately was one of the people let go. And I had an eye out for what Robert was doing already, and I was like, hey, let's start making official keycaps. And so that's kind of been the goal going forward.
Which is
super cool.
Yeah, which is really cool. We actually had a question too. It's kind of a silly one, but Spump asks, here's a question for you artisan makers. Whenever I try a raffle, why does all my luck disappear? I don't even know the answer.
Raffles.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
I don't think.
yeah. Actually, you know, Clackeys has actually always been like an outlier in the artisan world. I can tell you confidently that when we started, people didn't even consider 3D printed, non-hand sculpted resin keycaps artisans. And that's like saying to any digital artist now, like a animated cartoon that's 3D isn't a real cartoon. You know, it's unless you hand draw it, like, you know, they did Aladdin or something. So for me, that just, you know, you brush that kind of comment off, but that perception was there in the very beginning for us. And then so it kind of forced me to operate Clackeys in like our own way, in a sense. Like, so we never did raffles. We've gone through like various business models of like, at any time you can buy any artisan you want. Like there was a time in, I think 2017, I would have every single artisan that we've ever made as an inventory, and you can just buy to order, like everything. And we did that for a while, and then we changed it again and changed it again. You're always like experimenting when you have a small business, right? And so, but one of the things is we never did raffles because well, actually, you know, I don't really know why I never did it, but it just never really made sense to me that I'm like, hey, if I'm going to make something, I want my customers to be able to buy it. So
yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to, you know, make a Shopify account at the time. And actually we started on Etsy. So I'm going to make an Etsy account, and these are the things we got. Come and order it, you know, like it's not complicated. And so I think it's also, our process is very unique. So we're able to scale like our production quite effectively, depending on like how popular something is.
So I have a question about that too. And I know, so Regan, you started off with, was it WooCommerce? What did you start off with? Well, yeah, it was. So when you guys went from Etsy to Shopify, because I know Regan also moved to Shopify as well, what was that experience like? Was it a good experience moving off of Etsy? Did you find Etsy helped with organic traffic? Because I feel like that's also pretty interesting. Because again, we were talking before the actual live stream started, I work in web development and stuff too. So it's always interesting to see why people moved off of a platform. And I think it's very, very valuable conversation too.
Robert.
Oh, that's for me.
For both of you guys.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay, I'll go first, I guess. So I think I moved off of Etsy because I had a lot of issues knowing what people ordered when they would buy like more than one keycap. So like you could buy this or that. You add 3 or 4 different keycaps of 3 to 4 different colors, and then you really start hitting like this limitation of like, you want this key. We did a lot of customization in our keycaps. Like you can order like a red variant or a blue variant, or like a red variant with a blue stripe or a green stripe, and you can actually put that information in like the checkout. And so once I started getting down this like path of letting my customers decide what keycap and what the style of the keycap should be, you really start to hit that wall with the Etsy platform of like tracking inventory and
like too many SKUs.
Yeah, different SKUs, and then like now you have one guy who ordered 7 keycaps of 15 different colors, and you're like, and then you have say 50 customers all with different variations of orders, and you're like, how do I look at this data? And Etsy does let you download like an XLS type file, and like, which gives you like, your rows and columns of all the information you need. And so I literally had my wife write me like a script to like parse through that data and literally spit out like all the information that I needed to like actually fulfill people's orders. Cause
You're like, okay, it's time for Shopify.
yeah. And then at that time, like, there's got to be a better method to like managing these orders. And so, but the best thing about Etsy for small business people is that it's like an instantaneous store, and it's really simple, and it's a really good place to like get going. I am like not an entrepreneur expert, but I do know that like testing a market for something is Etsy is a great place to do that, to test an idea or a design or color, whatever.
Their website too has so much traffic that when you kind of put together your profile and you set your tag words, the SEO benefit you get from like kind of jumping on Etsy's back.
Absolutely.
Like, your keywords like Clackeys will come up so much more initially just because of the Etsy traffic.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's one of those things too where I tell people as well, like, because I know a lot of people who jump straight into going to Shopify and they're like, well, no one's looking at my stuff. It's like, well, how are you organically reaching people? And Etsy does have that power. So it's like if you type in keycaps, there is that chance that if they type in that specific keycap they want, or anything really, you have a chance to be pulled up first, which is interesting. So that's definitely interesting, the transition as well. Another question I had for you guys. I don't know, Chase, did you guys have any? Reg, I'm talking too much, I feel. It's all my questions right now.
Talking way too much, dude.
Do you have any other questions, guys?
No, I've just been listening. No, it's cool to hear your story and kind of where you're at now. I personally am a huge proponent of Shopify. Like, I absolutely love it. I wish I would have got with them in the very beginning. It may have not made complete sense, but I definitely would have had a lot less headache with crashing and kind of database loss and stuff like that. I'm super happy personally with Shopify.
Yeah. Which is actually funny to mention that we just moved off of Shopify like 9 months ago.
Okay.
And we did it for 2 reasons. We hit a wall with styling our website. And so that was the biggest limitation for me as an artist, that since like literally I'm doing all the web design, right? And I'm not a web designer. So what I hit with Shopify is that when I started selling a keycap, I wanted to tell a story of that keycap. I wanted to say like maybe where my inspiration was, how it's built, a lot of photography, maybe a video embedding, and you start hitting all these things and these elements, and I'm like, I couldn't really do that effectively on Shopify without buying like 47 plugins.
Oh yes, and they're all monthly fees too. If you guys don't know anything about Shopify, by the way, in chat, just the stupid thing about Shopify is, unlike WordPress and other platforms, even Magento's not as bad. Well, Magento's still pretty bad because you still have to buy like shit tons of add-ons. But Shopify has like all these ridiculous little tweaks that you can do to the thing, like the actual platform, but it all costs you monthly, and it's all very expensive.
I would like to come to the defense of that statement in that I had several $100s a month worth of ads with WordPress and add-ons with WordPress and WooCommerce as well.
Mhm.
And then what I noticed is when I switched to Shopify, I mean, you still have them. They're a little bit easier to plug in and use and
Yeah.
install, but like they definitely get you with the monthly stuff by leaving it open source. But I'm grateful because I personally use a lot of those add-ons.
Yeah, and I think I had 4 or 5 of them at the time, and they're awesome. Like if you need a way for your customers to upload photos or documents or any of that kind of stuff, like you have a lot of those things. You can do it like at checkout. So I think if we had like either a budget or like a bigger team to like really take advantage of like sort of the back end of Shopify and style pages how I want to do it, then I think it would totally be a platform that we would use. But for us, we moved to Squarespace just because we wanted to have this like visual vertical scrolling story about any given artisan. So
cool.
And so we did take a hit on the ability to like control like order numbers and all those things that Shopify is really good at.
No, it's definitely cool information. I would have never thought moving to Square. I actually haven't dabbled too much in Squarespace. One question I have before we get into some questions I see in chat. I've been wondering too, because like one of my favorite things that you guys have done is the Sarlacc pit.
Really?
Yeah, I love the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, I love it. It's so much fun. And I have a question.
Sorry, it's so funny you mention it.
Oh, it's on your desk.
It's literally like under my camera, right in front of us.
It's like, because I guess that particular scene has always, like within the Star Wars universe, has always been like a favorite of mine. I'm not like crazy into Star Wars, but
right.
It definitely reminds me about watching it with my dad as I was growing up too. So what's been the most fun? What's the most fun you've had doing one of your caps? And I guess that question for Max as well. Like, what's the most fun that you've had working on a cap?
Robert, you go first, and then I'll answer mine.
So, I think. So if you look at our body of work, like it's very nostalgia. Like there's a lot of tones of like everything pre-2000s, right? And very much like stuff in the 80s and 90s too. And so sort of when I started the company, I was like, and kind of to touch on that a little bit is I also worked in entertainment for a long time. So there's a lot of movies that I hold dear to me that are, classic stuff that I grew up watching, like you were talking about with your dad, watching like Star Wars stuff, right? So very similar notes for me. So when I started designing artisans, like you could either, I mean, people do what they want to do, right? So like for me, I just wanted to recreate artwork of things that I loved as a kid, still love as an adult, stuff like that. So, or like, whether it be a character or an image or a scene, or just like an idea. So, so the Sarlacc pit is one of those, is that you have like your go-to stuff of like your basic troopers and your helmets and things like that, but this particular keycap I think was a fun, just being able to pull something like unique from a movie and kind of like rebuild it as something else, right? So turning a really quick scene in a movie into like a fully formed idea as a keycap, right? So it's like very transformative. But to answer your question, what is like my favorite one? I guess like my favorites kind of always change a little bit.
Usually, it's like I don't know if you've ever been told this by your parents or someone that loves you. It's like when you ask, like I used to ask my dad, "Who's your favorite son?" and he'd look me dead in the eye and be like, "Don't ever ask me that stupid question again."
Yeah. But I think the cap that I enjoyed doing the most, where I felt like I had like where I really, really worked hard to think it from like the bottom to the top, is the flux capacitor.
Oh, okay.
And so we did that in 2017 or 18, and I think one of my early tests here on camera. I just kind of throw it up there for you guys to check it out. But and you can go back in time on our Instagram and like look at like where it lights up and stuff. But this is like awesome. 10 different pieces. It's all hand painted. There's like clear parts, there's opaque parts. There's resin poured windows, and so like everything about that was extremely hard and frustrating, and it actually made me want to quit doing this whole thing completely because
Really?
because
Wow.
you would spend say 3 or 4 hours making a bunch of them, right? And then when you go and pour your resin window, you could have like the resin can lift up your paint, you could overflow it and ruin, you know, $700 worth of keycaps in like literally 30 seconds, right? So you know, it's one of those caps where like it's amazing to craft, but it was so complicated to do, so you really kind of, by the time you're at the end of fulfilling all your orders,
You're done.
I literally vowed that I would never do it again, you know. And I literally took a break for probably 2 or 3 months from making Artisans. So so that was like the hardest cap to make and the most frustrating, but also the most rewarding.
That's cool. Yeah. What about you, Max?
I guess mine is like from a slightly different perspective. So I remember at the time I was like working on this like cable simulator where it was like Nike ID for cables, and I was not officially a part of Clackeys. And I remember being in Robert's chat of one of his streams and him kind of having this idea to do a spaceman keycap. And several months later, after joining the Clackeys team and kind of getting my foot in the door, we were able to like launch it. And there's like, I have it here. There's like several different pieces, magnets, and just like all the iterations that went into it was like really cool to see. But then also seeing that we could take that keycap as like something we invested so much time into and also rebrand it to work with other GMK sets. So we did it with like GMK Avantgardia. I think Robert just changed the camera.
Yeah, you changed the camera to
that. And we're gonna be doing something similar with another upcoming GMK buy as well. So
which one? Is it private?
Let me ask him. I don't think it's private. Coming.
Reagan trying to get the inside scoops, the leaks.
I'm just curious, but also it's like free advertising.
Yeah. Incognito said someone. You guys have. There's so many people so into that set, Reagan. Incognito.
Oh, if the designer is in chat right now, I think we'd be happy to open discussion. Robert, we've already discussed this.
I have how child friendly is this stream?
It's not rated mature, so we can't show anything too crazy, but
all right, well, it's not crazy, it's clothed, but anyway, I mean, I think this is a perfect key.
Oh, is it the butt? Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean,
that's a good one for it.
Yeah, and that's probably like, I think that's my either the second or third Artisan I ever made is that cat.
The butt's a classic, but I've seen that a few times on on Instagram.
Yeah.
So to bring up some questions from chat here, to start from the top, hey all, or hey, it would be hey all or hey y'all, one of the two, asked about Artisans. How do you guys feel about printed versus sculpted? Like, is there a realness factor implied?
I think just like traditional sculpture and 3D sculpture at this point, I think they're just two different mediums of working. And I think anyone who's like a real artist respects the other artists and how they craft things. It doesn't matter what tool. Everything is just a tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, an iPad where people draw and Procreate, that's just a tool for them to make art. Whether it's easier or faster is completely irrelevant, because just because it's easier or gets you to the shapes or the designs that you want to quicker, basically just allows you to take the quality or that idea further, right? So like you could say someone can sculpt something in clay and it would take them a week to make, let's just say, a nose sculpture, right? But in working digital, you could spend an hour and do a nose sculpture, and you say, oh well, the value in one is more and less or whatever, right? Well, that argument's totally irrelevant. And two, one medium has a certain look, and you got to appreciate both for what they can do. And then when you're working in digital, you're able to take that sculpture further in a different way, more than the person working traditional. So like you could do this, you could sculpt like the pores and the hairs and the details that you want to, right? So it just allows you to do something different. And so I personally appreciate both art forms. I've worked with many traditional sculptors in my career, and I've worked with many, digital sculptors and artists, and traditional in both ways.
No, I think that's a good answer, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because even myself too, like, there's certain things even in the art world and other things I've heard even about content creation and stuff, like, well, one way's easier, one's not, what's right, what's wrong. And I think it's just whatever, as an artist or as someone creating, it's whatever you like to do. As long as you're not hurting anyone, like, it's just the way you want to get to your end result.
Sure.
And that's it. Again, I think you should totally respect another person for doing that. Spump asked a question. Hey guys, I have a question for you. When did you guys realize that you can transfer this from being a personal hobby to create to something that you can create an online store for and selling online? Where did you find the community engagement?
I started mostly marketing on our mechanical keyboards like early on, and I actually looked back at like the history of that subreddit when it was more infant, and some of my first posts and most popular ones when the community was like 200,000 people. And so it was more like it was smaller. Your post got more recognition quicker by people because it was just a smaller community, and I think it was different people now than it is today. Like I think the community has changed a lot too on that particular subreddit. But so we started there posting some of our early designs, and that's what gave me reinforce this idea that this thing can be successful just based on the positive feedback, right?
Yeah.
And then two, there's been literally years of time where like all of 2017 was like, after every Artisan, I was like, maybe this is going to be my last one. Maybe this is the last one I do, because I'm not confident in the design, or are people going to like me going this direction with the types of designs that I'm doing, or that direction, right? So you kind of go back and forth with style. And kind of to touch on that, a lot of artisans at the time were they would do like one master sculpture, and this goes back into like the advantages of clay versus digital, right? So a lot of the clay sculptors would do one cast, and then they would do different colorways, right? That was the thing that you do with an artisan, right? You do one sculpture, and then you do different colors to match different things. So for me, I'm like, actually, we'll get into this later, or maybe talk about it on our stream sometime, but when we started, we didn't do any hand painting. So I just was doing just the digital and releasing our keycaps as either gray or black or like spray painted colors, like solid color stuff, right? And so train of thought. So basically, man, I completely lost where I was going with that.
The question was creating an online store and selling online. Like, when did you guys find it moving from personal hobby to that?
Yeah, so I guess like this, to wrap it up, it's like you just kind of keep getting that verification that you should keep going. And so
keep finding demand.
The supply and demand, right? And there's been so many times where the demand was low for some of our designs, and then you feel maybe I should just quit, right? But then when I did the flux capacitor, it just like completely surprised me how many people ordered that keycap, and I was literally busy for months making those, right?
That's awesome.
3 or 4 months. And so you're like, okay, my mental image of myself of like success was completely skewed during the months before that, because it's just it could be you marketing it wrong. It could be like you just didn't hit the right tempo with like your videos. Like there could be so many factors, right? And then so I guess the thing is like you're gonna fail a lot, and we still fail, but you just have to keep going.
Yeah, and I think that's even a good conversation to have. Like, I was just having this prior to even talking to you guys, or even chasing Reagan today. I was talking to someone else about, that whole, it kind of ties into those themes of imposter syndrome, where you might not think you're as successful, or you might not think that what you're doing is as valuable as you perceive it to be, or maybe you think other people don't perceive it as valuable. So your self-worth starts to go a little bit lower. And I know this is something that I openly talk about all the time on stream as well. Whereas if you end up getting into those things, sometimes it's nice to take a step back and like maybe ask a friend, or really just start to think like, well, why am I doing this? When it comes to a business, it might be a little different, because obviously you have to put food on the table. But when it comes to like, the content side of things, because there's still the content side of business, don't be afraid to try new things, especially when it comes to content. Just do what you want, Eurus says, imposter syndrome, what's that? Never heard of it before? Smile. Yeah, never heard of it, dude. Yukio Keys asks a question, was the visor a pain in the ass to R&D? I guess that was for the Spaceman.
The visor. Yeah, I think we did 6 revisions of that visor to get it to, because it's not only does it open and close, it's actually, let me just kind of show it here. It's actually removable.
Oh.
Try to do this because we did sell. There. So you turn it at a certain angle. So hard to show.
I know. Don't be afraid. Yeah, there you go. Oh,
So
I did not know
now
that.
colors.
Are these for sale right now?
That this design, the design was supposed to be modular. The whole idea of this is that there's a magnet that goes inside the bottom, and then the visor opens, and then there's objects that we can put inside of it to change out. So like we can put different things inside the spacesuit. So right now it's like a moon. So like there's all kinds of things. So that design there was one of the designs where we were talking about being true to yourself a little bit. I think we found the most success being true to, like, I'm just gonna say, or myself, or like really listen to whatever I want to do, like no matter how crazy the idea is. Because when I started that Keycap on the original, I did that on a live stream on Twitch, and it started out like just a spacesuit. I didn't really think about opening it up. Maybe I was gonna put a character in there, and then so I streamed that creation of the basic idea, and then off stream I spent like a week really like frustrated in my head that I'm creating something that I don't really want to create, because I don't want to create just a spacesuit. And then I thought to myself, what do I want to make? And I was like, okay, I want to make something that moves. I want to make something that has RGB. I want to make something that can be taken apart and played with and adjusted and customized. These are the things that I really want to do to elevate that artist into something else, right?
Yeah.
And so like when I came back on the next stream, everyone's like, how's Apollo? When's it going to be released? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to release it when I finish it is like the thing. And so then I really went back to the drawing board. I remodeled the entire thing, probably remodeled it like 3 or 4 times to get like the right shape language, to get, then it came down to, okay, how's it actually going to work? Now, because like you got to think about like the end user case of like, can a customer get this thing and actually, can they take out the visor? Can they take out the
ease
moon
of use,
and change it, right? So that's been like a learning process through the whole thing. And luckily, like our customers who bought it, they've been like super patient with how slow we've been to deliver them. But at the end of the day, we are sticking to like how like the vision of that product and what it's supposed to be, and it's not for everyone, but it's just basically what I wanted to do. I wanted to make another really complicated Artisan that was as complicated as our flux capacitor several years ago,
which is really cool.
And to answer your question earlier, Reagan, it is GMK Arch we are doing the collab with. I got their permission to announce that.
Nice.
And then there's an upcoming cat set as well. We'll be doing.
Yeah.
Do you have you in the past done group buys, or is this more so a recent thing where you collaborate with GMK sets or just Keycap sets in general?
I'd probably say it's been new-ish in like the 3 to 4 month range. I think the first one we did was kind of recolored, and we have a specific inside for the Apollo keycap to go alongside GMK Avantgardia. But then we also modeled our own igloo transparent keycap to go along with GMK Iceberg.
Oh, cool.
And then we did a aperture cube to go along with GMK game. And I think the aperture cube and the iceberg are both still live on group buy, and so they're still live on our site.
KV, that is really cute. And there's actually another set that's coming out too that would be really cool with that's like an ice theme too. That's really cute.
Yeah.
And actually, Ramlord just said the incognito clap, but the visor hides the butt. That would
like
actually be pretty funny.
Visor.
Well, that'd be like the incognito mode, like you're hiding it, right? Like that'd
Right,
actually be
yeah.
kind of funny. That's actually a good idea, Ramlord.
I like it.
Yeah. How do you guys go about approaching the big brands for collabs? Is that something in the secret sauce?
That's the max sauce, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the brand and like how you can navigate in your own network. I think that's what I've learned the most from my time at college and my time at some of the bigger studios is when you're navigating the big, like trying to get your foot in the door with, I don't know, Viacom or Warner Brothers or Disney Fox. Like, so much of your like inquiries get lost in the sauce per se, where you just really need to make sure you're connecting with the right people and you're making an attractive pitch to them, so it's like they know what they're getting out of it. You're upfront that you're not a company that's going to disappear. I think that's something that like new companies would have trouble doing, but once you start establishing yourself, and I mean, I guess that's part of the reason we want to continue GMK collaboration, just to show that we want to work with everybody and we're really willing to do it. And small brand or big brand, we don't really care as long as we stay true to the products we want to create.
Yeah, which makes sense. And I think that's a big thing too, is establishment. Once you figure out that establishment too, and to answer your question, kind of spum, from even my perspective, sometimes even as a designer, even as like a content person too, a lot of the times at the beginning you might be the one reaching out, but once you start growing a little bit and showing that you're established, it might also be reciprocated back to you as well. And that's because people want to work with you and kind of want to feed off that energy as well. That's sometimes how it works, not all the time.
I
Sometimes
met
that's
you,
how it works.
so
Huh?
that's how I met you. So
Yeah, I was right. I actually was looking at the invoice again. I was Reagan's 004, so fourth customer. We'll just say I was his first. We'll say the first 3 were test orders. I was Reagan's first customer, guys. Imagine that.
Nice.
Right, Reagan? The first 3 were test, right?
yes,
Just agree with
you're
Thank
definitely the first international.
He was so scared, by the way, when he shipped it to me. You remember that? You remember that whole ordeal, Reagan? You don't want to?
Yeah. That's a story.
It kind of like took a little while, and we didn't know what was going on. And then I think would you end up checking the wrong box or something?
Well, I honestly don't even want to say it. So I'll just quick story was I was buying Alex's shipping label. I'd never shipped an international package. I'd shipped like 3 packages in my life. And I was like, oh, there's 5 shipping options. I'll do the one that's like $1.12. And it turns out I shipped his as like a letter or something on accident instead of like a package.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, this isn't suspicious at all that this international shipment cost $1.10 or whatever. And it took like 8 weeks. And I feel like Alex is on the verge of like starting a PayPal case with me.
Oh man, no, I guess that's another question too, because we were kind of talking about this, not in our Keebcast episode, But I was talking about this with Apiary, and I guess for businesses, maybe this is a good question for you too, Reagan. People, obviously, when they're not happy or they feel like they're not getting something, even though it might be communicated, there's a delay, or maybe if they're in the right, like they'll immediately go and open up PayPal cases or credit card claims. And I've even seen the case too where the error will be on the customer, you know, where they maybe put the wrong address in, and it's like suddenly they're just straight going to the credit card and straight going to PayPal claim. I guess, how do you guys deal with that? And this is even for you too, Reagan.
I'll let them go first.
Yeah.
I guess we try and be as accommodating as we can to an extent. Like, if somebody's stems break, we're working on like a repair section so they can pay for shipping to ship it to us, repair it, and for $5 and then ship it back.
Yeah.
And it's like
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
cost
On
of
that
labor.
Our
Yeah.
stems are unbreakable now, but I'm just saying. But we're talking
To be fair, this was from a very old keycap.
yeah, like
from
3 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it
But
has to be
we still repair keycaps from people who bought like the originals, unless they're the ones that like the very first designs that we did. The stems were like part of the keycap itself as one whole piece.
Okay.
But yeah, now they're separated. Most of the newer ones are separated.
Cool.
But
yeah.
regarding like PayPal and stuff, I mean, we can only do so much. At a certain point, it's just worth it to offer them a refund and
Yeah.
and be apologetic. I mean, we've never been hit with a case where everybody from an entire SKU was just like, we want our money back.
Yeah.
That's just not, we're not in
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Which is always a good thing.
the yeah, we hope so.
What about you, Reagan? How do you deal with it?
So I don't get any chargebacks on PayPal, like for any reason other than like a person that is 5.5 months into like a group buy and they're like, hey, this is ridiculous, I would like my money back. And I was like, but you checked this box that says shipping takes over 6 months and
Yeah.
you know this. And then so then they charge back, and then PayPal will usually like let them win because regardless that it's in a TOS, it's still
Yeah.
I haven't shipped a tangible item, so like it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's no like my item doesn't work and therefore I want a refund. I usually we'll talk to them. That, like you said, there's an RMA process where they just fill out a form, print a label real quick, and we fix it, no problem. But yeah, no like crazy issues or anything.
We actually don't
Yeah.
take PayPal anymore because they banned our account because I'll try to say this without giving away too many details, but basically PayPal didn't like that we had like group buys essentially.
Yeah,
They
they're
didn't
very
like-
I
they're
went through
very
that
anti-group
big
buy.
time.
Yeah.
and they literally like they closed our account. Luckily our PayPal account had like $50 in it or something small, but it could have had thousands. And when they close your account, if this ever happens to anybody, you are SOL. So personally, not a big fan of PayPal anymore, to be honest. And I tried to talk to the customer service and they were not helpful. And you kind of have this like, you're so helpless. Like you literally wake up and like an entire payment method that you have to your store is gone. And so, yeah. So I don't know, just anyone thinking about doing business with PayPal,
Try to go
that's my
around it.
personal experience.
Yeah.
And
So,
I've heard lots of others with other people.
Even with me and Chase, I'd love to hear if this has happened to you. Like Chase, do you use PayPal often for purchases? You do, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I don't really do a whole lot of receiving income other than, I mean, I have the option for it to go directly to the bank, but I just use PayPal because it's more convenient for me. But
Yeah.
there was one time I had just gotten, like when I was starting with Twitch, and I guess I never had received really any income or like, you know, anything from Twitch. And immediately, and I remember talking to Reagan about this, it was like one of the first few months I started, I had to go through this whole like verification process on PayPal to even start touching my funds again.
Yeah.
Mind you, I didn't have much in it. It was a few $100s, but
It could have been a lot though.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
some people it happens to.
Yeah. So it was definitely a scary. It definitely put me on edge. I'm like, well, how do I check things now? Like, how do I do things? So it's definitely scary from a customer's perspective, and from especially from a business perspective when you have tons of money in there too.
Yeah.
But
I've had a couple of friends who have had like horror stories messing with PayPal. Like, friend sold a camera and then his PayPal account got somebody had gotten into his PayPal account and made some like suspicious transactions on it or something like that. Yeah. And PayPal just suspended his account, and there was like $1,200 in his account. And they were like, well, you can have access to your account again in 6 months. It's like, wait, so I just can't touch that money for 6 months, and there's nothing I can do about it? And they're like, yeah, once the 6 months is up, you can have access to your account again. It's like,
I had
kind of holding the money hostage.
Yeah, like PayPal was super upsetting because they were like, hey, like I think when we started shifting more so to group buys from these like custom orders that were same day shipping where you would like cash flow and it's money in, money out, it became more so money held, and then it started, you know, just accumulating more because you don't have to flow it. And so this raised an automatic red flag with PayPal, and they reached out to me this year to the point where it wasn't just a customer service rep, it was like an account manager, and I had to like schedule this interview, and then we had to sit down and talk for like an hour, and I had to explain the entire business model down to like components we buy and where we get them from and how long we've been established, and like so many like interview questions. And then they're like, okay, well, we're going to put a hold on your account. We're seizing 10% of your income, rolling over for 180 days because your method of sales is fulfillment around 180 days. And yeah, because they initially had locked my account, and they're like, they had pulled 10 random orders from my customers on PayPal, and they were like, provide shipping information right now. These orders.
Telling my story. This is happening to me.
Yeah. Provide shipping info for these orders to unlock your account. And I was like, so these guys ordered yesterday, and they're not getting their products until 2021. So like, how do we fix this? And their solution was holding funds. And I was like, but you're cutting into our margin. Like, you're not taking away from anything else other than our margin right here, which it's so damaging. And that was pretty scary. They recently removed it, the lift.
The one thing I will say, noting on this, for anyone who's new to making, not even artisans, because artisans are smaller and you can start off smaller and you can slowly, like Reagan said, have a flow of income. In the keyboard world, for anyone making why is Reagan above my zoom in cam?
Always here.
I like it.
Get out of here, Reagan. Anyways, for anyone who is starting to make keyboards, for the love of God, don't just make a PayPal and then expect $7 majillion to come into your account and nothing to happen. I've seen it happen so many times in keyboard group buys where someone will make a keyboard, then be like shocked that PayPal closes their account, and it's like, well, that $30,000 that you just acquired in 24 hours is kind of sus. Yeah. And then it's like you have $30,000 locked in there. Like, come on, guys. It's been happening enough that I don't think this should be a common problem, but it still is.
So what are the recommended alternatives then from you guys? I mean
we use Stripe, and Apple Pay, I guess. It's built in through Squarespace. So
I used to use Stripe also.
Stripe, yeah.
I mean, a lot of them
honestly,
offer,
it hasn't affected our sales. So
yeah, a lot of them offer things too. Like a lot of these Shopify accounts, like any of these accounts offer something. And I can say this from experience now from my job is, if you're new to doing it and you expect, like, you know, you have that expectation of a lot of money moving in and out, is get in contact with the brand that you're working with, Shopify, PayPal, etc., and talk to them first. They're going to know the best solution for you. Like, they're going to give you the best heads up. Don't just do this and now suddenly you have not only yourselves fucked over, but you're screwing over people who invested, $500-600 into a keyboard.
Yeah.
Because that's where the shitty stuff comes, and then you're starting to fuck with people's money.
I've had the same conversation with multiple vendors where it's their first group buy, and they message me and they're like, what do I do? I just took in all this money and my account's locked. Yeah. And I was like, well, do you have money to pay for the group buy items, or do you need to use your PayPal funds? And they're like, well, I can, but what if people charge back? I was like, and people aren't going to charge back. And that percentage is so small. I would
less than 1%, probably.
It's like 0.001% of sales or something, or 0.01. is the ratio. But yeah, that's always scary. But PayPal's definitely protecting themselves, because if you, I mean, you have to play it on PayPal's side that if you did collect $30,000 in 2 days for a group buy, just withdraw it, and then you have 150 customers refund, and now PayPal's a negative balance, and you're nowhere to be found. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no good way to do that.
Yeah, it's always a tough thing. But with that being said, someone asked us, I think it was Truman, asked us, what do we all have for keyboards on our desk right now?
Oh yeah.
Max, would you like to go first?
You know this question.
Sure.
Thanks,
I have two keyboards on my desk, so I'll just do the one I don't have to unplug. This was the first like true dive into the hobby that I got. Mike from Novelties sent this over. It's the
Oh, cool.
purple entry with focus.
You know what it's trying to do that background blur, the effect happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I have our Death Scout and our companion cube on
Cool.
it
Yeah.
with some silks inside.
It
I'm
looks-
probably gonna get some real hate, but it's a Dell. No, I'm just kidding.
No one would judge you. Only like a few people in chat.
Yeah. So this is my board.
Ooh,
I don't know if
okay.
you guys recognize it.
Ooh.
Actually, no, I don't.
So this is a
The caliper might be throwing people off.
Oh, I thought that was an accent piece.
Oh yeah, no, that's just my caliper. I always had those on hand.
Okay.
So.
Is that a U80? Kinda
It's a Normal Force
Oh, it's a Norma. Oh.
Oh.
with a
very
metal. This is our metal edition Bastions.
Topra.
Topper.
Yeah. Cool.
Or Topre, right? Yeah, like
Topre.
someone corrected us in
Probably.
like a couple streams ago. I think it was.
Yeah?
I'm
Chozo.
probably gonna get corrected again.
Yeah, I mean, like they
Please.
always.
I've always said Topra, and then Chozo roasted us and said it was Topre.
I don't know, man. Honestly, like I just pronounce words the way I think they're pronounced, and
Phonetically.
people always ask me, "Can you speak any other language but English?" And I said, "I can barely speak English." What do you expect me to speak 2 languages now? What about you, Reagan? What are you using? Let's guess. Is it a Stellar?
Let's take a poll.
Let's take a poll. Predictions. Don't actually do a prediction, Chozo, because it's blatantly obvious what he's using. It's a Stellar. What about you, Chase? What are you using right now?
A Tofu 65 with Susuwatari and
Ooh.
creamsicle switches
Actually,
in here.
I want to use Susuwatari again. I have it, but it's just sitting in a box. and
MC3
then-
profile is fun.
It is. It's really it, like hugs your fingers. It's so nice.
It's fun.
I am using. Oh, well, it's all darkened because of this. Hold on, let me switch back to. Let me just switch back to this one here. Wait, chatting. I'm using this one, the one I built today, and it has a lovely girl who's really enjoying her food, as you guys can see. She's just really hungry and enjoying her food.
Oh,
Is
so
that R1 Mizu?
Yes, this is R1 Mizu.
Do you have the novelties?
No, I'll be honest. I'm not really a huge novelties person. Never have been. I like artisans. Like I have a crap ton of artisans, but novelties like a novelty collection. I've never really purchased a novelty collection. I think maybe for one key set ever, and I never ended up using it. I have it for Nautilus, round 1 Nautilus, but again, I don't use it. It's just sitting in a box. Novelties are artisans. Stay woke. Sounds good. Note. I appreciate it. MT3 gets my fingies stuck. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have you guys tried MT3s? MT3 profile?
I have not. I have the OSAs. I think that's the
MT3 is a very interesting profile. It's very comfortable to type on. I really like it. Sound wise, not the best in the world, but it's really nice. I like it a
I
lot.
still haven't tried it.
You should definitely try it, Reagan. I urge everyone to try MT3.
I haven't
It's
tried
really
a ton
comfortable.
of profiles.
I like it better than SA. But SA
Not
sounds
saying
better.
much.
What the heck? Screw you, Reagan. Alex made me buy MT3s and I loved it. There you go. I'm going to use that as my slogan now when I pitch. I'm going to just take a screenshot of Omar's name and just... Omar said this.
Robert?
Go on. Sorry, Chase.
Robert, I want to ask you earlier. You said you said you started out working in animation, correct?
Mhm.
Any notable projects that you are allowed to say you worked on or anything like that we would know of?
Yeah. Sure. Well, I'm just gonna just put this out there. This is a total humble brag. So,
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
pause the music too.
this little movie called Avatar with
Oh,
James Cameron. I might have worked on that one.
Oh wow.
The very first movie visual effects that I did on was Starship Troopers 2, a really shitty directed DVD sequel. Actually, I have a piece of swag from the second movie I worked on. One of my old crew shirts. So I worked on this movie, which is probably my favorite.
oh no way! That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And so this is a crew shirt from was a studio called Tippett Studio. They're in Berkeley, California.
That's cool.
So that was my first job, 3D modeling. So I have credit in Hellboy, Avatar, and a lot of movies. But yeah, good times. 2004, 2005. So that was the old crew shirt. Got to turn it into a mask, right?
Really cool.
Definitely doesn't fit no more.
Yeah, no, I think we're all feeling that. Go on, sorry, Max.
I was gonna say, speaking of credits, I just feel like obliged to say this because they recently got shut down. But while people still remember it, I used to work for Blue Sky Studios, people behind Ice Age and Robots and Peanuts and
They
all
got
that.
shut down?
Yeah, so when Disney acquired Fox, they were kind of keeping it open. They had a few projects in the pipeline, but it out of the blue, my LinkedIn feed exploded with all like my Blue Sky connections, just because like nobody saw it coming. I'm like sitting here drinking out of my Blue Sky mug.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, just for like working in that entertainment space, it's very I don't know, it's like addicting to work with those kinds of people, but it's sad to see like a studio kind of turn its back that fast.
Wow, that's crazy considering I always thought Ice Age and like the rest of those movies did like really well.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to work on Ice Age 5, and at that point I thought they had stopped making Ice Age, so
I didn't
Yeah.
know there
it
was
was
a fifth
clearly
one, I'm not gonna
successful.
lie.
Yeah.
Damn, Disney killed the saber-toothed squirrel. Yours says it was a very sad day when it was announced a few weeks ago. Oh, so this was actually recently. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. It's very tough to like how do you know? Like how does anyone know what's gonna happen? Because it's so above, like it's all these like things up top, high level things that sometimes you don't even see things like this coming. Robert is responsible for the frame with nipples in Avatar. Thanks, Robert. Says Note Makoti. I've watched all these movies. Sorry.
At least I didn't work on The Watchmen.
Which one's Watchmen again? That's
It was a Warner Brothers film.
Was that the one with the guy with the ink? Am I thinking of the right one?
He's the blue guy, and with some blue body parts.
Yeah, I remember that one.
yeah.
Okay, now I know which one you're talking about. That's the Watchmen. Yeah, that's the Watchmen. I
They had
remember.
a decent spin-off on HBO.
I don't even remember that. I remember. So I actually went to go see the Watchmen live in theater. Rorschach. Yeah, that's whatever how you pronounce his name. I remember I was younger when I was going to watch that movie, and I had never once I'd been to R-rated movies before because I think that was R-rated. And this is totally not about keywords. Sorry, guys. I'm just talking about my life. I remember Rorschach. Thanks, Chozo. I appreciate you, buddy. And I remember going to see that movie. I took a girl with me at the time, and I was like, cool. And I was like 19, I think, or 18, or maybe I was 17 or 18 years old. And I think you had to be 19 to get into the movie. And I went there, and we buy the ticket, and at the gate, they're like, you got some ID? And I was like, I've never been ID'd for a movie before. What's in this movie? So I didn't have I had ID, but I obviously wasn't of age to go watch the movie. So I had to go in shame bring this girl who I took on a date to go refund her tickets and go watch something else.
Oof.
But yeah, I think I watched it afterwards when I got a little older because I just forgot about the movie, didn't give a shit about it. It brought back bad memories. But
Imagine being a movie bouncer and like turning away 18-year-olds.
something like that. It was really, I don't know, it was really embarrassing. I hated that day. It was such a weird day, man.
I've gotten cornered at movie theaters too.
going back to something I saw in chat, somebody was excited about the Starship Troopers and kind of tying back into like navigating with larger companies. Starship Troopers is a Sony-owned property that when I was at Sony, like, be conscious trying to sell to get people interested, like a video game for like a VR experience, whatnot, especially tapping into those like evergreen properties. So like just seeing those comments that you guys are excited means that like maybe next week I'll kind of put the motion into play, reconnect with my old colleagues, and who knows, we could do a Starship Troopers official keycap. Because at the end of the day, that costs the studio nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. So it'd be cool.
Yeah. Which is really cool because I know it's a cult classic, Starship Troopers. Yukio Keys says, do you all have any crazy artisan collections like other creators? That is an interesting question.
I have one non-Clacky artist key, but I don't have a crazy collection. I wouldn't say it.
I just have mine. I mean, I have two. I have one from Tiny.
Show the briefcase.
I mean, it's like not even full though. But yeah, I mean,
that's the closest we can get to crazy.
like what I have on display, but it's.
Oh, cool. Yeah, even me, like I don't necessarily have one, I guess what's it called? Artists collection like through and through. So if a design appeals to me, I'm gonna pick up a design,
Yeah.
So that's what that's what I usually do. That ass artisan, the butt artisan. But I don't know, like I don't have a crazy collection of like one person's artisans as well.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the times too, like, we were talking about this earlier, and I know some of you guys can relate. You have to win raffles for a lot of people's artisans, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't got that type of luck. So it's hard to collect. And then aftermarket, which is a whole nother beast for getting artisans sometimes. It's a little tough.
I just don't like getting aftermarket artisans, especially if it's a smaller artisan. At the end of the day, they're not profit.
Yeah, I mean, like we see a lot. Like one artisan collection. I know some people collect the Alpha Keys, the owl there. I forget the actual sculpt name. My goodness, those go for a lot on the aftermarket. Those are like, I see some of the colorways go for like $250 to $300 US.
Is that the Keepora?
The Keepora, that's what it's called. Yeah.
I mean, I tried getting those Art Key Universe Avatar ones. Wow, they're really incredible. And me and a bunch of friends signed up, and none of them got even close.
Yeah, the series is Art Key. Yeah,
Art Key, aren't most Art Key stuff pretty hard to get your hands on?
Well, it's because a lot of the times too, it is that like lower quantity, and obviously, like I don't want to speak for art or anywhere else in the community, but it's not usually that they want to only make 20 and then profit, $80 off each or whatever it is. It's not usually that. It's just like that's the amount they can make. But like even Hey Y'all Said, they have like 2,500 entries. Even with the new, which is a keyboard that we did here on stream, which is something that I really like. This ran, in a lower quantity of, I think it was 50 or something like that. And a lot of the times too, artists and keyboard designers will make lower quantities to ensure quality. Because you guys, and I know everyone in chat has seen it, where sometimes we have a lot of people who will go overboard and maybe accept 800, and then delays happen and errors happen, and suddenly fulfillment becomes an issue, and people start to get anxious about it. So while I know it sucks that sometimes things are in lower quantities, it's a lot of the times to ensure quality. But again, like this keyboard had like 900 entries, for 50 units. So that means 850 people are going to get disappointed. And when you're talking about artisans, like 2,500 entries for like art key stuff. And I know there's probably way more for like those serious drops that happen like once every 2 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
I'll never forget the reaction like a lot of the community had when it was Novel Keys was doing the NK stuff, and they were getting a ton of flack for people who wanted entry level edition.
Yeah, I
said,
remember
like,
that.
I'm sorry, like there's more coming. This is going to be an in-stock product, but I can only sell so many at a time.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, people just need to come to the table a little bit more understanding than like, why can't I buy this right now?
Well, and I feel like and this is something that I've been talking a lot about too. I was even on Clubhouse recently, and we were talking to some people, I guess, trying to introduce like that hype beast mentality into things. And I think it's not really the job per se of anyone else really at this point here, but like faces of a community. Obviously, I want everyone to instill that, mentality of patience and more things will come. But I think there is that whole idea of like, I'm buying this to flex sometimes, or like, I want this and this is like the best thing ever. And patience, like there's more to come, like there's always gonna be something else, especially in the keyboard world. We just saw that with the Iron 165. A whole bunch of people got upset because they didn't win that one there. I know there was some
Forgot about that.
Yeah, like there was a lot of people who didn't get that keyboard as well.
I forgot to enter.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I woke up late that day anyways. I didn't want to enter, but I woke up too late anyways. It's a lot of like want, and I think people get mad when they can't have, and it's okay to not have something. Like I always said too, and I don't know if you guys collected Pokemon cards or like at the height of trading cards, even hockey cards was like a big thing at one point too. Growing up, when I had Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Pokemon cards, it wasn't so much about having like the whole collection or a certain card. It was just kind of like we showed each other our cards, and it was cool to see like my friend have something completely different than I did.
Flex.
Yeah, and it wasn't even so much about the flex. It was just kind of cool to see like how different everyone's collection was, not just about having everything.
Yeah, because people who had everything just had all the money, right?
Yeah.
So that's.
It wasn't anything it was like cool, yeah, that's interesting, but it also kind of gives that that whole type of like, well, it's everything, they're not missing anything, like there's no excitement left to be had.
This brings up a really weird issue. I think as artists and makers, we're constantly figuring out what supply and demand is, with every design and every color. And I think what's interesting is that if you have 2,500 entries on an Artisan, right, like because they do the raffle system, right, do they publicize how many they actually give out or sell out?
Sometimes
so I personally don't know like a normal number of that, but let's just say it's like 40 or 30 or 20, right, somewhere in that range. I think what's interesting is that coming from the other side of the business, it's much more you keep your sanity knowing that you're gonna sell like all 30 of anything. Because if I could bite my tongue and regret saying this later, but if they did say, hey, we have 2,500 of these, guys, come get it, it's right there's a checkout, buy now, they probably wouldn't hit those numbers. They might hit it the first time, but the next time and then after that it's going to go down, right? And then you're going to find your like your normal average. You're going to figure out what that number is, that magic number of like what they can do. So like if they're hitting those, like the demand, like the entries are that large, but they don't, at least they can go home and get sleep at night knowing that, hey, whatever they're doing to make keycaps and artisans and art and staying successful in their own like lifestyle, as long as they're happy with those numbers that they're hitting, it's like it's a perfect business model. Because the worst part about having a business is not knowing if you're going to sell something and not knowing if you're going to be able to
keep them wanting it.
Keep them wanting it over and over and over again. So and so if you oversaturate your particular design or your style too quickly before your customer base expands, it's a dangerous place to be in. And it's maybe financially they're okay, they don't care if they make a lot of money, who knows, right? And this can go for like anyone in business, but it's really nice to know that, hey, I can sell this many and I can still like have my weekend and have this or that and be comfortable. So, you know, when you if anyone's in here thinking about doing a business of anything, don't try to be like the Bill Gates of that business and that idea. Just find out like what's going to get you to make enough to make you happy and enjoy all elements of your life, not just being like someone who's super successful and, you know, an Elon Musk of that industry.
Yeah, and what you're saying too is very important as well, because like you don't necessarily need to be sounding like if you're comfortable and you only want to do 50 or 60, you know, then just do 50 or 60. Like you don't owe it to anyone as a designer, as a business owner. You don't owe it to anyone to make more. And Gambit, you were saying that I know it's not the reason they're limited, but being limited does drive up demand. And I think that whole hustle culture that comes in with well, I'm buying this and immediately I'm going to be selling this like within 2 seconds of receiving this product. That's a mentality that's been I see the cattail as well.
Sorry.
It's okay. That mentality of like being hustle driven has really skyrocketed with social media. And you see, and again, I'm talking YouTube videos, you see a lot of these videos, you see a lot of this like podcast talk of like hustle, drive yourself to hustle. You know, like as much as I like what Gary Vee has to say, Gary Vee also advocates, you know, not necessarily flipping, but he'll advocate going out and buying old stuff and flipping it. You know, it's not the exact same because that's like an antique. This is the intent, like right, what a lot of people in this hobby see is like the intent of flipping immediately, like the actual flip.
But his statement is like industry to industry basis or like case to case. So like,
but a lot of people can misinterpret that.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like a lot of people are very Reagan will murder. Hey, you know what? Me and Reagan used to listen to Gary Vee podcasts like literally every day together. A lot of people can misinterpret that, and a lot of people see this like hustle culture, even with the GPU thing. And I always bring this up every single week. The GPUs, like people see that as like a window of opportunity. Like they're providing, and I guess like a lot of people will tell them that like they're providing this service to people that doesn't exist. Like they're putting it in the right people's hands, but they're not. They're just making money off something that they really didn't do anything to do. Like there's no effort or anything in there, and I just think it's a dangerous game of what we as content creators do to educate our audiences, and you know, you as people as well can do to educate your friends as well when it comes to that. Like there's not a lot you can get about when you're flipping. Like you're not really contributing much to society if your whole life is like flipping products. You're really not.
So I know I like just brought this up during like our pre-chat, but I think when you mentioned Clubhouse, I immediately got on Clubhouse and followed you and Chase. Reagan, if you need an invite, I got plenty. Unless you're already on there, I didn't see you. But okay, sorry. But like yeah, the hustle. But one thing I've been hearing a lot in the space of like ways to contribute but also still do the reselling is through like this expansion of NFTs online, and that's something I really want to explore, of like if we can tie our artisan to a digital art piece, and you own the artisan, you own the art piece, or maybe you own the art piece and the art piece is valued more than the artisan. Like that space is exploding right now, and to be honest, I don't really know much about it, and I'm trying to learn more about it.
I definitely need to explore that too.
But I think it's really interesting of all these different like plays of kind of combining a physical with a digital, or is this a space keyboard enthusiasts are intrigued in if it follows the same quote hype beast that we don't want to acknowledge, but still is kind of there lingering in the background?
Well, the thing too, like, Clubhouse is exactly where I've been seeing a lot of this stuff too, because as you guys know, keyboard flipping is definitely reselling keyboards with with the intent obviously of flipping is a big thing. But artisans is to a bigger degree, like you're seeing more of a percentage. When an artisan costs maybe $50, you can see a resale of like $250. Sometimes upwards of $500 for artisans. With keyboards, like the most you'll see the big ones like TGR, Keycult, etc. But typically it's not that high of a percentage. Still is a big percentage, but it's not as high as something like the artisan world. And I've had conversations with people on Clubhouse who will try to basically state that they, like, why don't we create like a stock X app? Why don't we do this? The thing is, like, that stuff doesn't really help at all. If anything, it just more streamlines the idea of flipping and the idea of reselling and value for these things, and kind of creates these cool things that we've been doing as a hobby almost kind of like a currency, right? And I don't know, like, I personally feel like it's just so gross to be in that sphere of things, and it creates this level of clout that feels weird. It feels gross to have something like an item attached to self-worth and value of how we perceive others. So it's a very large conversation. But yeah, Clubhouse is definitely, I don't know, it's been turning me off for that reason. Like, I haven't been on it as much because every time I hop into a Clubhouse chat, someone will come in pitching some business idea, and it feels very entrepreneur, and I get it. But my goodness, has it been like hard to listen to sometimes. Sometimes we're all having like a really fun conversation of something to do with keyboards or Twitch streaming or something to do, outside of that, and then you suddenly got 3 business people taking over the chat. So it's definitely a weird space.
I've yet to do a Clubhouse. I have the app. I haven't listened on anything yet, so I'm.
Yeah, it's
Dude, I was scared to, like, I opened the app but without doing any research, and I just see all these chat rooms, and I was so scared that I'd like click one and then all of a sudden like be on like webcam or like into a voice
you click it, you're in the room talking to people.
I know
like,
it's only audio now,
right?
but like my initial thought was like,
Right.
I think it was like Teja, like I saw him on my my explore page, whatever it's called in Clubhouse, and I was like, if I join this, is it just gonna be like, hey, can you leave? Or can you like mute your mic or something? I'd be like, oh shit. I was kind of scared to use Clubhouse at first.
Yeah, Clubhouse is I don't know, it's interesting. I haven't been using it the last like week. I've been kind of lately. But one question, Chase, would you like to ask the question we always ask?
I would. Yes.
Go ahead.
So every time that we have people on, we always ask them what within the keyboard scene, within the mechanical keyboard scene, within also, I guess, the artisan scene, what do you guys like about the scene in the community right now? And then on the opposite end, what do you guys dislike, or what's something that kind of worries you guys moving forward about, maybe just like behavior, or like maybe even like the way things are structured or anything like that?
So I think I guess I'll go first since I kind of mumbled into here. I think the thing that I'm most concerned about, and this actually doesn't really have too much to do with artisans, because like, we're like in a niche within a niche within a niche, right? So like when there's a new artisan maker that comes out and they make something cool, like I don't ever get worried about new competition or devaluing our stuff or anything like that. So I'm always happy to see people like going down that pathway. But the next tier up, like making key sets and keyboards, it's a little scary of a space from my perspective of someone who's actually very like I'm not really in tune with like the geek hack, and Max is like my go-to person for like anything keyboard. I'm like not really a keyboard person. I'm a keycap artist and maker, and that's what I do, and I try to do it well. So like seeing the space a little bit removed, it's a little concerning how there's so many different people making products, and everyone's really buying like a lot of different products and designs that are very similar to each other, and they're all made by different people. And so it's I think that's just going to do something over time that's really strange to the space. Like you don't really see like 600 different people making a type of mouse, right? Or like other accessories. Like it over time it kind of like bubbles down to like a spread of certain makers making.
I see what you mean.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's only so many factories in China or wherever like things are being made, right? A lot of t-shirts and clothings all kind of come from the same place. There's different sources, but you know, you follow those pathways down. So like, you know, GMK, they're booked out like a year, right? So you want to design a key set. It doesn't matter if your set's better or worse than all the other group buys going on, but like whatever set you want to do is not going to get done until a year later. And it's like, it's kind of fascinating, but it's a little crazy to me too, that there's so many different people making content and products for this space of mechanical keyboard enthusiasts, but there's like not really it's kind of like a wild west situation, I guess. Like there's a definite like gap between like professional makers of like, say, I think GMMK or like Glorious are like the first kind of crossover company that kind of
to like the more mainstream stuff.
Mainstream, but like they're not like Corsair, right? They're not Logitech, but they're also not like you know, Canon keys or, you know, whatever, right? So like they're in like that weird space between the two. So
they're not like a huge player in the consumer tech space, but they're larger than most of the vendors we have within the industry.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I guess I'm not concerned. I'm just kind of, it's a really interesting thing how these are playing out, and how I'm really curious to see, like, I haven't really looked into like how other markets that were emerging like years ago probably started off in a similar space of like everyone's doing them, but eventually only a few people do them, and who's going to really survive this.
I think what I always tell people too, because I came from the audio hobby before I actually got into keyboards, and audio, as you guys know, has been around forever, first of all. But it's gotten to the point now where if you want to think something in audio, like you can go out and you can pick up boutique stuff. You know, there's tons of really cool, like this is a resin-based headphone. And it's very boutique. It's not something you're going to see on the shelf. You have to go special order it. But they still make these. They still, you know, make their dime. Within the audio hobby, there's tons of boutique stuff. There's tons of really high-end stuff. There's tons of, like, you know, I guess enthusiast level things. But there's also a huge space for people like who just want a $300 pair of headphones, you know, and that's considered high end for a lot of people.
Right.
And within that space of people, what I've always come to learn too, and even with what I do for a job now, is those people that buy the cheaper stuff, and that's why I think a lot of companies, you're seeing like the Icky 68 Aurora, all these like nice entry level boards, there was probably never an intention for them to spend $500 on a keyboard. So that market that they're capturing, I honestly think is going to end up benefiting. And that's the cool thing. Like you said, you want to see how it plays out type thing. It's going to end up benefiting a lot of the vendors and people who are creating now, because it might open up a gateway for people to now be able to afford or get the accessibility to buy a keyboard. And then suddenly that opens a bunch of gates for them.
Yeah.
Or in our case, I guess, you know, the wormhole that is keyboards. And I can even say that with the artisan community too. Like we're seeing that now too, where, you know, someone might buy like a GMK Pro or a smaller entry level board, and suddenly they want to put an artisan on it. Well, now they're going to go look, because again, those are those type of consumers that might not know or understand the group up here. They're going to look at readily available stuff, which is like Etsy. Drop has some, you know, readily available stuff, and they're going to want to put something cute on the corner. But again, that's like a gateway thing. Like it opens up so many doors. But if I've seen anything in the audio hobby, is it actually opens up more doors when bigger players start to enter the scene. which is super interesting, and it's very weird to see it play out as well.
So it's almost like we're like doing this in reverse, right? Because a lot of times, like if you go back into like the 90s and early 2000s, only big box name companies existed making keyboards, making things, right? And the artisanal and the customization factor really didn't exist in a way that had like large communities and able to like do these types of group buys and projects. And so mechanical keyboards, the market started out that way, right? Like, yeah, we had keyboards. Yeah, I mean, I have an old IBM like buckling spring, right? Like those keyboards are not new, but like, but it's really interesting, I guess, how the community of mechanical keyboards actually started out through the customization and custom built avenue, and then all those players and it created new markets for those to become like miniature mainstream, if you will, right?
It's exactly that. Like even what Rusty Panda just said, basically what you see now is people getting in the door. Wouldn't be surprised if NK65 is a lost lead for NK to get people who wouldn't buy a custom or spend money on a GMK set. It's like a classic Hot Rod says Doubleday, same path. People wanted a certain version of a car and mod it and created it. There's a lot of like, it's very interesting. It's in a way, like with audio, like I think mainstream audio ends up adopting some of the boutique stuff. Now boutique audio at this point here, like it's all a lot of snake oil shit, to be honest. Like it's fancy cables and stuff that really doesn't do much to the average listener. Sorry, Reagan?
Some fancy cables.
It's just fancy cables.
Fancy cable.
But at least you don't, Reagan, you're not saying your keyboards make you, or your cables make keyboards work faster. In the audio sphere, Reagan, I think I've told you this. There's like cables that people will say like, this is going to give you more bass and smooths out the mids. Like, it doesn't really do that. Snake
so
oil.
What I've learned in the audio world, and I'm not talking about like the headphone audio world, I'm talking at like
cables.
Yeah, there's like power cords that are like this long for subwoofers that are like $1,200. Just because of like special braiding and like things that reduce like, I don't know, things with power and sound stuff. Or like they have like a coax cable with RCA
weird shit.
Like super high end stuff for, kind of sounds like what you're talking about, but I don't know much about it.
Yoni also says, I'm sorry, Max reminds me of a certain celebrity that I can't put my finger on. That's a good thing, I guess.
Well, let me know.
I hope so.
There was an earlier question I saw that I wanted to answer.
Sure.
Thought I bookmarked it. Robert, you know the one I'm talking about? I messaged Robert about it. I was so excited to answer this first.
From Hayal?
Oh yeah, from Hayal. What about appropriation that hasn't been approved, like Among Us caps, not approved, not done? There are gray areas though. Sleepies, Kirby's, ...
So
Robert.
Okay, well let me just touch on this subject just a little bit, because everybody wonders like, hey, how can you do something? You know, the word fan art isn't even, that's not even like there's nothing legal about doing fan art. Let's put that out there. Like there's nothing legal about it. But there's a few keywords that we like to operate by. And that word is, there's one word that I like to operate by. It's called transformative. And what transformative art is, elevating something that exists into like a new medium and a new shape or a new design or a new product or idea. And this is where like, then it gets really dirty, like First Amendment, freedom of speech. And it just gets really cloudy and it's very gray. But basically, the way that we function is that as long as we can with most things, we try to make that existing idea unique to ourselves. And that's probably like the simplest way I can convey that community. And you know, you go to Comic-Con or any con and there's a million people selling stickers where they redraw Frozen characters, whatever, right? And so it's not something that it's something that people are constantly fighting for on both sides of, this is my idea, but yeah, I changed it and elevated it. And that's a battle between, A and B. So with that said, Max, do you want to drop one of the newest? So this is an unreleased, just a little bit of info.
Ooh.
But
I was just excited because the guy said it outright, but we've reached out to the Inner Sloth team and we're officially partnering with them to do Among Us keycaps along with Tiny to help us accessorize these keycaps.
Oh, I love that.
That's going to be
awesome.
really cool, considering how big the game is still.
Yeah,
that is
so
really cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, and here's the thing that gets hard, right? If I didn't spend 4 years of my life practicing making fan art, whatever you want to call it, then fast forward to now, nobody's going to talk to me. Nobody's going to trust me. No one's going to believe in my design skills or ability to create or produce, mass produce, however you want to phrase it. So,
Oh,
what happened?
we lost Max.
Oh, we lost Max. Okay.
Oh, he's
He
coming
might
back.
have- Okay. Anyway,
Wait,
yeah.
I'm
So,
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We're all different people now. I think when Max turns on his camera, it'll fix off. Yeah, there he goes.
okay, nice. Yeah. So, basically, it's this I don't know, chicken and the egg, whatever system where if we didn't do that, then we wouldn't have got to where we are now to kind of do something legitimate.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome, though.
Yeah. That's huge.
So
Honestly,
now we have the value, we have the company,
Yeah.
we have the infrastructure, we have the process, we have the team to actually make something official the right way.
yeah, that's really cool. And we actually saw. I know we saw. Chase, you're gonna have to help me out. Was it Dwarf Factory or is it Jelly Key that worked with one of the esports leagues?
Dwarf Factory.
Dwarf Factories.
Dwarf Factory and Fnatic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like we
so-
saw that happen too, which was really neat too. And I think that's a good way to go. I think
That-
I'm really happy for you guys, by the way. That's
That
awesome.
partnership that they did definitely inspired us. I can't really talk into specifics, but we're working with one of the largest NA esports teams
Oh, cool.
to do like kind of their own mascot and whatever. And then we're also working with one of the largest esports games, but details are still to be announced.
Cool. Yeah.
But I think that kind of ties into Robert's point, and we had a conversation with kind of the sales team behind the development studio, and they were like, 4 years ago we would have never talked to you. We see that you have this history of all these products. We see that they're up to a certain quality of standard and par, and you've done it over a long period of time. Now we'd be interested to start the discussion and get the ball rolling, because it's really hard to do it if you're just in a garage.
But that's really cool. And I don't know if you guys know this too, but Chase is Chase. You want to tell them a little bit what you do?
Oh well, I run social media accounts and work with a couple of like esports players and competitive gamers to develop content for YouTube and stuff like that. So I have a lot of background in content creation and just esports stuff and video games in general. So
Chase is just like, I can see him
I
smiling
really
as you guys are talking about this.
oh,
That's
I
why.
just like
Yeah.
the crossover of like my worlds. I mean, it's pretty easy to see the like lateral crossover between like video game stuff and keyboard stuff, obviously. But it's just as both markets develop further and further, it's really cool to see more collaboration between the two.
I mean, I've reached out to CAA because I'm pretty sure they represent, or they used to represent Tim the Tap Man, but I always joke about like having a shiny bald head as a keycap would be like the perfect play between like his fan base and and like kind of the brand he represents, kind of
You
making
guys
fun
gotta
of
have.
himself
If
in
you
that
guys
way.
end up doing anything for Tim the Tatman, you have to promise me. Like, this is a promise you guys need to make me. You're throwing in a dent on the top. of his head.
Of course, there would of course be a dent.
It
That'd be
needs to be
funny
a
because like
dent.
I bet console players would even buy those keycaps.
Well, because he plays a lot with Nick Merckx, right? Like, he plays a lot
Yeah.
with Nick. So.
Well, they just
Nick,
have them to have them.
Yeah. Shots?
I mean,
Not
I
shots.
think
Dude,
they-
he has a dent on his head. It's not shots. It's the truth.
Damn. Well, I'll definitely be picking up one of the Among Us caps when those
Yeah, that's cool.
come out.
That's
I'd
cool.
love to see how those are in the future.
Yeah. I'm excited. It's another keycap we're gonna do like accessories with, kind of like how we did the Apollos. So it'll be cool to see how we explore that space in like a partnership license perspective.
Yeah.
Because like
What about
there
like
are a lot of costumes.
like the little hats and stuff you can change in the game? Stuff like that.
There are a lot of
That'll-
costumes.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So we got a busy year ahead of us, and we'll have more big announcements too coming up in the next couple months. But that was one we're allowed to share. So
Cool. I'm excited for you guys. I'm really happy. I've been following you guys' work for a while. I know I've tuned into a few of your streams. But if you guys don't know, by the way, Clackeys also streams.
yeah,
Do you mind actually talking in chat so they can? I mean, I could just do the whole shout out. How do you visit SO? How do you do this again? I don't remember how to do this. God, I am the worst for this. There we go.
You're the worst
Okay,
streamer.
I am the worst. All right, we actually are hitting. We blew past our like hour and a half mark.
no.
Did you guys have any last questions you guys wanted to ask, or in this case here, Max, Robert, would you guys like to shout out anything else you guys are working on? Do you guys have any upcoming sales?
I guess just current live sales, because I know they're ending right now. I'll just plug that. I know
Sure.
GMK Gateways live right now, and we did a collaboration with them with like an Aperture companion keycap. You can find that on our website if you go under GMK Collabs. I'll throw a link in that in chat in a second. And then the second one would be GMK Iceberg. We did like a cool transparent igloo. And yeah, I mean, that's my only plug.
Well, there you guys go. And then we have one last question from Quinpin being, any last second general advice for newbie artisan makers?
Just stay small and try to do really high quality stuff, and don't try to make too many too fast, because you don't want to learn the hard way that you either can't make enough. I mean, do you guys remember the Bastions, like the original Bastions that went out?
Yep.
And then that guy disappeared, like completely disappeared in I think in art round 2. And when we did our version, everyone thought we were that guy, you know? And so like I didn't have to defend ourselves, because like, you know, our fan base, I was already saying, no, that's not, these guys actually can deliver the thing that they're making. That was a different person. But you know, it's really easy. It's easy to make a couple of things. So just grow slowly and do really high quality stuff, and you'll find your success. So
There you guys go. Reagan, Chase, you guys have any last things you want to say?
I want to say, make sure you guys go follow Clackeys on Instagram. They are currently less than 100 followers away from 10,000, which for a business is actually a big milestone, because 10,000 means they can do swipe up links in their Instagram stories, which I'm sure they cannot wait to try utilize. So if you guys can go follow them on Instagram, obviously that's another way for you to keep up with any of their releases or any products that they're teasing and stuff like that. So definitely go give them a follow on Instagram, please.
Chillin says, just want to say I haven't touched on Artisans yet, but it's amazing just to listen to you guys. Thank you, Chillin. Reagan, do you have any last things? Oh, sorry, Max, go on.
I was just gonna say, and thank you guys for putting this together. I've been kind of been lurking and watching your guys' stuff, and this community is quite fun to be a part of, and it's always great learning from other people who have way more experience.
It's I'll say this again and again and again. And one of the things that keyboards are very much, I love them, love keyboards, love everything that goes in them. It's very much become a background thing because I actually enjoy hanging out with the people in keyboards more than I like the keyboards. And don't get me wrong, my love for keyboards is very much up there. I love keyboards, but the people, like I've never met more of a friendly space. Obviously, there's every community has their bad eggs or something that happens, but it's very much a friendly space. And coming from the audio hobby and coming from playing, top leagues or top rating for World of Warcraft, it's not competitive. I don't feel like more at ease here. It's not like audio where it was more just flexing constantly. This is a fun space to be in, and thank you to everyone in chat for coming here today. Thank you guys for doing what you guys do. Thank you, Reagan, for continuing to be Reagan, and as everyone always says, what? Oh, hi, Reagan. How you doing? Reagan, did you want to say any last things?
Just go follow them on social media.
There you go.
They need to swipe up already. That's it.
Thank you, Chase, for being you, Chase. Thank you guys in chat. Let's see who we can raid. Reagan, is Katana?
Katana is on.
He's always on.
Side note, Chase, I would love to connect and talk about some of the esports stuff on the side.
All right. I am down to talk.
Let's raid Katana Kaji. You guys love Katana. Did I type in the right one? I did. Okay.
Imagine.
Dude, I've done that once where I've typed in someone wrong. I'm like, whoa, cancel. All right, you guys have a good one. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. The episode will be up, I guess, later on in the week. Mr. Chase will probably put it on YouTube, Spotify, and the rest of the stuff. But take care, everybody, and love you guys, and good night. Thank you again, Clackeys. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.